Hi again, this is Tony at BesideTheFrontDoor.com, and I've had questions about when your evergreens start having yellow needles and they're dropping, and what's wrong with them and how can we save them. Now, first you have to understand that evergreens just mean that they do have green all throughout the year, even in the winter. They don't keep those needles or those leaves forever, the life of the tree. Depending upon the type of tree, it's going to be between 3 to 5 years that it'll hold on to that needle or that leaf before it drops. Now, I know you're going to tell me that you haven't seen them drop them before, you've never noticed, and now this is the first time you've seen it. You just put in a new tree. You just put in a new tree and you've been watching it. Now, usually all of this dropping of the needles happens on the inside of the tree, the oldest needles and the oldest leaves that are going to drop. So the outside is all still green. So if you weren't looking for it and you weren't watching it because you just put it in or you just moved to a new area, you probably just didn't notice it, and that's fine. Normal, natural happens every year. But there are times when it is a cause of concern. Now, there's a couple of questions you need to have answered and find the answers to first. You can get these answers, and if you're still uncertain, you can take them to your local county extension agent or to your local independent garden center. That's be the best place to ask them who's the best person to ask about your trees. There'll be certain to be someone there that will be able to help you. Now, first you should know what type of tree it is. If you're not sure, just bring pictures with you. So there'll be a picture of the tree at a distance, so you see the whole tree, and then some close-ups of the needles or the foliage. If there's cones, some close-ups of the cones, so they can find and figure out what type of tree this is. You're also going to want pictures of showing the dropping yellow damage so that they can get a good idea of what it looks like right now and what's concerning you. Some other things you're going to want to know is go up, actually move aside the mulch if there is any, actually touch that soil. And do this when the irrigation hasn't just run or it hasn't just rained in the past 24 hours. Touch that soil, touch it down in about 2 knuckles deep if you can. Is it damp? Is it dry? If you pick up some of that dirt in your hand that's right around the tree there, if you squeeze it between your fingers, does it make like a ribbon? Is it slippery? Or is it really grainy? Feel like there's a lot of sand in it? Or somewhere in between? Just note that and remember the answer to that when you go in to ask your questions. Also, you're going to want to know, has there been any construction happening recently around this tree? Did it have to have a piece of heavy equipment go anywhere within 25 feet of it to let go? You had a patio put in or a new deck and some equipment had to go across its root path to get there. Has there been any change in the water flow in the area? Did your neighbors just pave their driveway and now all the excess water is coming down onto your property? Did they just remove a paved driveway and so now the water is seeping down in and not running over your property anymore? Has there been changes to the gutter systems? For existing trees, this is very important. If there's any changes or any activity around the roots, did you just lay down, level your lawn and lay down a couple inches of topsoil over the tree's roots? Again, this is for existing trees that have been there for a long time. If this is a tree you just barely put in or is a new one, that doesn't matter as much because the roots haven't had a chance to get out there to that native soil yet. Now, after you have the answers to these questions, also be sure to have some pictures of the tree with you so they can see the damage. Is it on the outer tips of the tree that you're seeing this yellowing? Is it on the inside, closer to the trunk, all throughout that you're seeing this yellowing or the brown? Is it just on certain branches spotted throughout the tree? Is it just on one side of the tree? Again, a picture is going to make a big difference to be able to figure that out. If this yellowing and the needle drop is happening on the trunk side of the tree, right in the middle, and the rest of the tree looks green and happy, and this is happening in the fall, don't be concerned. It's the normal natural process of the tree. You just didn't happen to notice it before, and that's fine. Don't be concerned. If this is happening shortly after you planted the tree, it is a sign that it is a little stressed. Just keep an eye that it doesn't stay too soggy and doesn't dry out completely in your irrigation. Too soggy will rot out the roots, so it can't uptake any water. And if it doesn't have irrigation and it dries out, then there's no water for it to uptake. And both of those will stress the roots and make it so it will drop needles as a response to conserve water. And the ones they will drop first is the oldest needles. Now, if you're finding that this is happening like in the spring or any other time besides the fall, again, check for that water stress. If you're finding that just the entire tree just looks a little off color, it's not a vibrant green or the blue for the blue evergreens that you were used to seeing, and it's throughout all of the foliage, that's another indicator of stress, whether it be nutrient stress or water stress. Something is stressing that tree, and that's something you can come back from. But you just have to find out what it is. Again, take those pictures, take them to your local garden center or your extension agent to figure out your local conditions. Maybe the pH is too high. There's a lot of different things it could be. If there's an insect infestation, they'll know what's happening right now in your area. Many, many things that could be. If this is happening on the outer tips, and it's going yellow out there, that is a sign of urgent stress. That's the brand new growth. That is not a good sign. Usually it is, there's been damage to the trunk, so it can't uptake that water, or there's been damage to the root ball when it was planted, if this is a recently planted tree. But either way, that is an urgent cry for help. Go ahead, get some wilt proof. You can order that online. You can find a link to it on besidethefrontdoor.com or go to your local garden center. They might have some there. What that does is it puts a natural coating over all of the needles to help it conserve the moisture while it's trying to regrow whatever lengths it needs to grow to get the moisture and the nutrients to the rest of the tree. Whether it's recovering from root rot or if there was trunk damage, but that is something that is an urgent call. So remember, if you're getting yellow leaves drop, 90% of you will have yellow needles dropping on the inside of the trunk in the fall, and it's normal, it's natural, and nothing to be concerned about. These other cases are something that's best to take to your extension agent, your local arborist, your local garden center. And again, the independently owned ones usually have the best trained people to answer your questions there. And if you have any questions for me, go ahead to besidethefrontdoor.com and let me know. And there's a full article there that talks more about this question. And we'll see you then.